Before we begin today's episode, we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge a devastating loss for the Jurassic community. We recently learned of the passing of a very esteemed and beloved member of the Jurassic fan community, Astrid Vega from the Jurassic Collection. Astrid had a YouTube channel called the Jurassic Collection and was also on social media, constantly posting about the latest things going on in the Jurassic Park universe and sharing photos of her collection, as well as her restaurant, Prehistoric Land, in Guadalajara, Mexico. And she had a tremendously huge collection. Her goal was actually to win the Guinness World Record for the largest collection of Jurassic Park memorabilia. And I think it's quite possible that she could have done it. Her collection was extremely vast. And I mean, you look at people's collections online and, you know, there's tons of collectors that have a lot of stuff. I really feel like it probably would have been pretty hard to beat everything that she had amassed ever since she was a kid, going back to the original Jurassic Park film in 1993.
Yes, she had an amazing collection, and beyond that, she's definitely going to be missed. By all accounts, the past couple of days, we've seen a lot of people, posting their interactions with her, whether they met her at last year's anniversary event or interacted with her online. It's obvious that she was just a very positive force in the community, a very enthusiastic, energetic person who obviously was very passionate about Jurassic and Jurassic collecting, which, we obviously by default have a lot in common with that here. And like you said, her collection was incredible. And I think that's what's cool about everything that, all of us here do and our listeners is we all kind of share that collection. So that it's great that she was able to do that. And even though she's gone, that's still a thing that everyone can go back and remember and revisit and look at. And it's sort of like, for us big time toy collectors, and obviously was a passion of hers, like that's something that'll always be around for people to remember her through. And I scrolled through her feed yesterday and was like, wow, I've never seen that before. I've never seen this before. And how cool is that something that she put so much time into in her life is still out there being shared. Yeah.
And her videos, she's had a YouTube channel for several years now and had a huge following on the channel. Lots of people were tuning into her content and checking out her amazing videos, really just showcasing her collection, showcasing the restaurant. And, we all got to follow her Jurassic journey over the last several years and see everything that she was doing. I had corresponded with her online for a number of years, and last year at the Jurassic Park 25th anniversary celebration, we finally got to meet for the first time in person. And she gave me a big hug. And certain people, as soon as you come into contact with them, you realize that they're, great people to be around. They just give off, really bright and sunny vibe. And she had that. She was energetic. She wore her love for Jurassic Park on her sleeve. Quite literally, she was dressed like Elise Sattler at the time. Mm-hmm. We teamed up and did a review together for one of the Kenner of the Lost World, the Cyclops Velociraptor, and that's a really fun video. So her content's gonna live on, her impact on the community is gonna live on, and I would just say, we're all connected. It's through the internet and through social media that we all know of each other. If we're lucky enough, we get to meet up in person, hang out a little bit, and get to know everybody a little bit better. But also, it's also a reminder that life is fragile and it's delicate, and, we have to live each day to its fullest and embrace, the positive things. And rather than cut other people down, just lift everybody up. We're all one community, and I think we're stronger when we're all on the same team, when we're united. And just hold your loved ones close. Remember that life can definitely be fleeting, and we never really know when our time's going to be up. So, Astrid's content's going to live on. It's a devastating loss that she's gone. It's incredibly sad, and it's really difficult. But our thoughts and our hearts go out to her family and her loved ones. And Her spirit's going to always live on in the Jurassic community.
Extremely well said. And of course, you said her content will live on, and obviously all these memories that she's made with so many people in the community are going to live on soon. So we're definitely thinking of Astrid's family right now, and we'll all miss her.
Hello, and welcome to Collect Jurassic World. I'm Victoria.
And this is Tim.
And we are your hosts on this adventure through all things Jurassic World. All right, park goers, it's great to have you back for another episode of Collect Jurassic World. And let's go on over to the control room and see what's going on. Tim, what do you got going on over there?
Well, summer's in full swing at the park. Very busy again, as always. We're going to go ahead and listen for some new park announcements. We have quite the announcement to make today. Tonight, actually, we found out about the Amber Collection from Mattel. You probably haven't heard of this one before by this name, but it actually is those 6-inch figures that we first heard about last year at the San Diego Comic-Con. It's been coming up on a year now, with the Comic-Con right around the corner for this year, and we were waiting to hear anything about these figures they unveiled. At Toy Fair they were a no-show, so everyone was wondering where they were at. All the while, the information was that they were still coming, and now we finally get to see this Amber Collection, and I gotta say, I'm way more excited about it than I was when I first saw it at Comic-Con, for the obvious reason that it's Jurassic Park focused. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is exciting news. For a long time, well, basically since Comic-Con last year, which is basically about a year ago, we've known that 6-inch is coming, and finally we actually get to see what Mattel had in mind. Now, we did see back at Comic-Con last year, they had a couple of figures on display. There was Owen Grady, Ian Malcolm, and a Velociraptor Blue. So it looks like, to my eye, Tim, that these have been modified a little bit from the prototypes they had on display. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely see it. First off, the Raptor is totally different. We had Blue that was revealed last year at Comic-Con, and with these images that we're seeing, which, by the way, I should say, these were dug up by Jurassic Outpost. They're relentless in their search for, images across the internet, leaks like this, so they were able to find these, which is why we're able to talk about them, so definitely want to point that out. But at first glance, the Raptor is totally different. It's a Jurassic Park Velociraptor, which is so much more exciting for me. I love Blue, love you Blue, but we have a lot of Blue figures, so it's cool to get this classic Raptor, and it does look a little bit different than the Blue figure, which we can really nerd out on that in a second, how much different it looks. But Malcolm too was instantly more appealing to me. It feels like they brought it more in the direction of the 3 3/4 figure. It looks like a bigger version of that figure in the best possible way. It doesn't have weird kind of fat muscly arms like the prototype did, at least in my opinion. So I don't know. To me, that part of it, just Malcolm right off the bat looks a little different.
Yeah, he does. He's a little bit more streamlined. He's lanky, appropriately so, just like Jeff Goldblum. He doesn't look as muscular as the prototype did. And even the Raptor, as you noted, it looks like they revised it, because I assume that Blue and, this Raptor are probably just going to be repaints. But it looks like they did revise it. It looks like the neck's maybe a little bit nicer looking than it might have been before. Yeah. And you can definitely see the articulation. It looks like there's quite a bit of it. It looks like there's hinged ankles, elbows, wrists, shoulders, hips, knees, tail, neck, and probably jaw. I'm not sure if the top of the head's articulated as well. If so, that'd be awesome. But these look great. I mean, just aesthetically speaking, I think these look fantastic. And that Raptor looks incredible. So screen accurate.
Yeah, the color is, I think, what I'm most excited about. I just think we've had so many Mattel Raptors at this point. I couldn't even tell you how many we've had. And they all look great in their own right, but none of them have ever really, answered that, like, need for, like, a pure Nublar Jurassic Park Raptor. And this one, this one is just that kind of subtle tone to fit that. It's not like green with stripes or anything. Like, they really kind of, used some restraint here and made it very much screen accurate. And even the eyes they're not yellow. They have that kind of pale look to them that the Raptors in the first movie had. So all those little details are making this Raptor feel great. And then the picture that we're looking at here, the pose they have it in is like picture perfect for, the final scene in the compound, the final scene in the visitor center when the raptor is crouching and about to lunge, and then Rexy comes out of nowhere and bites it. It's that pose. So you can tell by the articulation that they put in this picture that it can kind of hit those poses from the movie, which is really cool to see. Exactly.
And both of these have display stands. You mentioned the name is the Amber Collection, and these are amber display stands, which is an interesting touch. And the Raptor, it's got a little clear a support
base with a stand. Yeah, with a support, right? Yeah.
And this isn't too dissimilar from what Dave Silva did with the Creative Beast Studio, Beasts of the Mesozoic.
Right.
He created these little bases that had little clear supports. So, they work pretty well in that instance. And I assume that this is only going to enable you, if you wanted to use it, to get into even more poses. So, I'm really happy with everything I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, Malcolm again comes with the torch, the flare rather, and I think I have the official descriptions up on collectjurassic.com that are pulled from the actual system. I can't say exactly where they're from, but I just know that they're official. And they mention in here that he comes with a water cup as well, which I don't see in the picture, and I don't know 100% if that's a confirmed detail, but at least in the official description, it does say that he comes with a water cup accessory, which is
interesting,
an excellent touch. Another thing I probably should mention as I read through these descriptions is, even though these are 6-inch figures, the product descriptions all say 6.5 inch. Whether that's sort of a generalization for a bigger Raptor figure or a taller Malcolm. Malcolm's a tall character. I don't really know, but I would assume that these are still scaling in the same kind of vein as like Black Series 6-inch, but maybe they are a little bit bigger. We'll just kind of have to see.
Yeah, I hope so. And I mean, I collect, as you know, quite a few different toy lines, and I think 6-inch is perfect, like size for a larger scale figure. I feel like when you get to 7-inch, things start getting a little clunky, and even 6.5-inch, like Bandai did some Power Rangers in 6.5-inch scale a few years back, and it was just kind of weird because when I look at the shelf, I like everything to be somewhat uniform, and when you have things that are like 6.5, 7, you're kind of jumping around. It just doesn't feel right. So I hope it's going to be a true 6-inch scale line. I hope that, like you mentioned, Malcolm is just a tall character. Maybe he's 6.5 inches, but it does say that about the Raptors. So I guess we'll see.
There's a lot of copy and pasted content from in between listings too. So all of that can be taken with a grain of salt, honestly.
Yes.
And we'll just have to see. But man, this Raptor is probably what I'm most excited about. It just looks, I don't know. It just looks like it's like the Raptor we've been waiting for forever and ever. And I kind of hope that they take this paint scheme and throw it on an attack pack Raptor or, a battle damage Raptor. Like, I'd love to see it, in the 3 3/4 scale. Super grateful that we're getting it in this case. But it would be nice to get something that kind of plays with all the other toys too. It's worth mentioning that last year at Comic-Con we saw an Owen figure, and he's not shown in this sort of image leak, and I don't really have any information on if he's a Wave 1 figure or some other kind of release. So maybe they're kind of sticking with a Jurassic Park focused kickoff for this, which is super cool. I think we have no idea what the packaging looks like. I'm really excited about that. That could really lean heavily into some of those classic Jurassic aesthetics that we like to see so much. So that'll definitely be something that I think will really, the figures look great loose, but I think having them in package, you're going to want to own an extra set just to keep them in package.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens at Comic-Con, to see if they're going to announce anything else, to confirm whether or not this is the first wave or if there'll be any other figures in it, and, availability and pricing, because I know we're all eager to learn more.
Yeah.
And here's hoping that there's some cool stuff we learn next week.
Yeah, I definitely think we will. And again, I just want to point out, you can head to collectjurassic.com, and we do have some information up there. You can read those official descriptions. We do have a estimation on prices as well as availability, which we'll just say here. I mean, they're expected by the end of the year, so these things aren't, another 12 months off. So here's hoping we can all get our hands on these by the holidays.
All right, so as we get into asset tracking, we're going to take a look at the latest items that are hitting stores. First of all, this was a very recent one that happened this past weekend, but the battle damaged Plesiosaurus and Pteranodon, those Walmart exclusive figures that hadn't hit in the US, they've been hitting in Australia and other places for months now. And I know we've all been wondering, when are they coming to the US? We want them, we need them. It looks like they finally hit Walmart.com this past weekend.
Yeah, totally out of nowhere, especially after we saw the wave after this wave, which would be repaint Monolophosaurus, Heratosaurus, and Proceratosaurus. The wave after the Plesiosaur and the yellow Pteranodon. We saw those hit stores in Canada, so we're like, oh man, by the time they ever come here, we'll probably be getting that later wave. But here they were rather, on Walmart.com, both up for pre-order very, very briefly. But I think there was a somewhat decent amount in stock. And I think the Pteranodon has actually gone back in stock since. But yeah, the Plesiosaur especially, I know is a very very popular figure, even if half the people that want it don't have it. It's an all new species to the, Jurassic lineup. It's a childhood favorite for a lot of us. So the fact that it's, signs are pointing to, a US release finally are pretty exciting.
Yeah, I hope it happens. I know we've talked before about availability for battle damage, and most of my Walmarts have clearance those out. And I don't know if it's just because they are trying to get rid of older stock, and maybe later they're going to be stocking more battle damage. But there are a couple in the area that still carry them, so that gives me hope that at least hopefully those stores will get them in. But
right,
I do kind of feel like in part that maybe the ones that did clearance them, that perhaps Savage Strike, at the $10 price point as well, maybe just kind of competed a little bit too much with them.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm kind of in the same situation where I'm at by Chicago. A lot of my Walmarts don't have them, but the ones that do have them and aren't clearancing them. So it's a little weird. It definitely makes the overall chances of like, if these do come to store, it makes the overall chances of finding one a little trickier. But, if we look at things historically, like we try to do here on the podcast, the yellow Velociraptor, the mustard Velociraptor, and this the blue Pteranodon, those were two figures that showed up on Walmart.com after being, assumed they were never coming out. They showed up on Walmart.com, sold out in a short amount of time, popped up a couple more times, and then we figured that was it. And then they started showing up in stores, and they just showed up in stores not super saturated, but enough that a lot of people who wanted one got one. So that could maybe be the case. I mean, that's purely just looking at things historically, but, we could see a lot more plesiosaurs kind of, find their way out.
Yeah, let's hope so. I just actually saw the yellow Velociraptor again last week. So
wow, yeah. So there you go. I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but the fact that you're seeing it after all this time and it was such a kind of rare figure, I think that people shouldn't, give up hope that these could show up in store in a quantity that they can eventually track down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Another thing that hit at Walmart's getting all the love this week at asset tracking, is the new Lego sets. Well, one Lego set rather. So I guess Walmart has this new for summer toy. I guess you'd call it a campaign. Like, they don't have signage for it necessarily, but I've heard through a couple people that it's sort of like an initiative they're doing this summer where they're doing new for summer, and they have a display right now at some Walmart stores that's new Lego sets, like new before their, I think they say like a preview or something. And this has a bunch of single pack Lego sets from different properties, including Jurassic World, and this Lego set is from the Legend of Isla Nublar series of Jurassic World Lego sets. I have it in front of me right here. I haven't built it, but I'm just gonna pull out the name for it. It's the Dilophosaurus on the Loose, but more specifically, the set itself contains a really fun like gift shop stand, like in Jurassic World, as well as the Dilophosaur, and then Owen riding on a giant drone, just totally normal stuff. But it's a really cool set, and I think a lot of these sets that are going to be hitting are really cool to me because they are sets built around like an opened, functioning Jurassic World, not like a derelict Jurassic World or, dinosaurs have already wreaked havoc. They're all kind of built in a functioning world. So this one with the gift shop and all the little pieces of merchandise, it's really fun that they did that. And now you can get this set right now ahead of all the other sets at Walmart if you're able to find one of these displays of previewed Lego sets. So shouldn't be long now where the rest of the sets will be hitting here in the US soon. They've already been out in Europe in a few places, so it won't be long now for us here stateside.
Yeah, that's cool. Another thing we want to mention is that the Bite and Fight T-Rex, now I don't know if this is isolated to just my local Target store or other stores. I assume that if it's happening at one store, it may be happening at others, but they had the Bite and Fight T-Rex on clearance yesterday for $14.98, I think it was, about $15. So yeah, I picked that up. I think it's a great toy, and it doesn't hurt to have a spare for, toy photos or whatever. So I thought that was really good. I mean, that's half price for a really, sizable Jurassic World dinosaur toy.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a few places where other people have posted that clearance price, so it's definitely not just limited to one store in your area. I definitely think that some are doing it, and, again, kind of looking how things go historically, we'll probably see quite a few Targets and who are trying to clearance out that particular shelf space and that do have Bite and Fight Rexes, mark them down to that price, which again is a steal. We could go on all day about Mattel's different Rexes, but we love that one obviously because the paint scheme is so much different than most of the other Rexes and really feels, like a true Jurassic Rex. So being able to score it at such a low price is pretty cool, and hopefully it doesn't mean that they're going to be gone forever. I mean, I can't imagine we're going from having 3 or 4 different Rex figures on the shelf to having none, and it is the most recent release, basically, if you don't count the Legacy Collection 2-pack that comes with the Baby Rex. But I hope it doesn't mean that they're getting rid of it or phasing it out, and if it does mean that, I hope we're getting a cooler new T-Rex that's coming out, but we don't know about that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And it's weird because when you go to Target, they have the Extreme Chompin' T-Rex, they have the Thrash and Throw T-Rex, they have the T-Rex pack with the green T-Rex, and then they have also the Bite and Fight T-Rex and the Super Colossal T-Rex. So I think they're a little bit overloaded on T-Rexes. I know we love Rexy and, we love all these Rexes in the toy line, but it's just kind of weird. You go to Target and that's basically all they have. And I can't imagine that does favors for, parents or people that are trying to buy a gift. It's like, okay, which one do I buy?
Yeah, it's interesting. Recently I bought a few Toy Story 4 toys for my kid because he's kind of into it, and I'm very much into the Jurassic toy line, obviously, and so I'm kind of familiar with the intricacies and kind of patterns with that. But when I was shopping for these Toy Story toys, I was like, man, there are a lot of Buzz Lightyears, but there's a perfect Buzz Lightyear that I want for my kid that I'm going to look for because it's going to be the size I think it should be, it's going to do the action features I think it should do, and it's going to light up the way I want it to light up, all these things. And not just because I'm like a toy nerd, like I definitely was thinking about it as a parent. I think that's what I imagine people do when they come to Target and see 4 different kinds of Rexes. They're thinking like, what should I get? What kind of Rex should I get for my kid? Like, it's nice to have those options. So the fact that they're limiting them isn't surprising, but it is nice to have some options for sure. And I hope that, this stellar looking Bite and Fight Rex continues to be one of those options.
Yeah, it's not the one that I would anticipate they would have clearance. I would have thought the Thrash and Throw, because that is, that's over a year old now, and Walmart, I don't think aren't even carrying that anymore. From at least locally, they're not. It's all about the Bite and Fight. So,
It's interesting that Walmart doesn't carry it. I mean, and Target does. All that is interesting, and I wish we knew kind of the back end of why all that happens that way. But it is interesting that Walmart doesn't carry it.
Totally. And I got to agree with you on the Toy Story figures. I haven't picked them up yet. I've been eyeing the Signature Collection figures. Toys R Us carried those as an exclusive a few years back. Never got around to getting them because they were expensive at $60 each. Well, now they're $90 each.
Yeah.
At Target. But I mean, these are the film accurate representations, like the exact size. And these are supposed to be like the exact toys from the film universe. So I definitely want to grab them at some point. It's just, I'm going to wait for a sale.
Yeah. Not to get on a Toy Story tangent, but those sound awesome. That's definitely something I wish I had room for, because that sounds totally awesome. I'm going to live vicariously through my kid who has Buzz and Woody, but now I'm eyeing Slinky and Duke Kaboom, so it's like, man, I don't know. I think we're going to have another collection on our hands here in a second. But again, don't want to get off on a tangent, but those toys are great too if you're, looking for something else to pick up. Next up, we're going to visit our trophy room where we talk about some of our newest acquisitions. And this week we have some real doozies, both me and Victoria. I'll go ahead and start off. I received quite a package in the mail. If you follow Collect Jurassic anywhere, I'm sure you couldn't miss it. Mattel was very kind and sent me a Brachiosaurus figure from the Legacy collection. Not out yet, but they did send just a few out, and I was so lucky to receive one of those, and I'm super grateful, super humbled that they would send one my way. So of course the first thing I did was rip it open, take a bunch of pictures, take a bunch of video, and post it for everybody to see, because I just couldn't get enough of it, and it's so immense that it's like I gotta share this with someone. My wife was like, "Wow, that's one giant toy," but I needed more than that. So jumped on. I saw there's a review on YouTube, and we have obviously stuff on our social media and our website as well. But this figure in the flesh is still kind of just jaw-dropping, and the whole experience of kind of unboxing it and putting it together, it just keeps getting bigger before your eyes. Like, you pull this thing out of the box is pretty conservatively sized. I don't think Target has a lot of excuses not to carry this on the shelf. It's not that big. It's not any bigger kind of width and lengthwise as like a Hot Wheels, kind of a bigger Hot Wheels set. It's definitely has more depth to it, but box is not that big. But then when you pull the kind of the unassembled Brachiosaur torso out, you're like, wow, this thing is huge. Then you snap the tail on, then you snap the long neck on, and it's like, this figure is just giant. I had trouble getting it in frame when I was, filming my video of it, and it's got excellent detail. Probably one of the most detailed figures we have to date. When you look at the head sculpt of the actual Brachiosaurus, it just looks perfect to the first movie. It's not like some strange approximation of all the Brachiosaurs in the Jurassic saga. It's definitely a Jurassic Park 1 Brachiosaurus. Has a very, nuanced color application that's very natural and earthy, and they didn't, go crazy with, a blue airbrush or anything. It's very reserved, and it's got some articulation too with the arms and the legs. The tail, or the head, kind of the neck, I should say, rather, kind of pivots down from the body and rotates left and right. You have an opening jaw as well, so pretty much like a basic articulation, but cool that the arm, or the legs rather, kind of move. Way back in the day, for the collectors out there who've been collecting for a while, we had a Horizon model of a Brachiosaurus, it's a great comparison to this figure. It was a vinyl model you could assemble that was a perfect cast of the Brachiosaur, and it kind of worked with Kenner figures, but it didn't have any articulation. It was just a big static piece of vinyl, whereas this figure is it's a toy, and it feels like that, and that's what makes it exciting. One other quick thing I wanted to touch on about it is that it's hollow, and I think some people are kind of thrown for a loop when they hear that, but for me it was a huge relief, because I have all these toys on the shelves, and having this big giant heavy piece of plastic always makes me anxious, because if it comes crashing down, it's gonna come crashing down and probably take out a few toys with it. So the fact that it's hollow, to me, I told someone if it falls on the floor, it's not going to break. It's going to bounce. And it doesn't feel cheap. I mean, it's a $50 toy, so it feels right for what you're getting. So I would have kind of, calm anyone's trepidation about it being
Right.
hollow. It's definitely not a concern.
Yeah, I see a lot of concerns about toys like some of these dinosaur toys when they're hollow, and that doesn't necessarily equate to cheap. I mean, you think about it, if something's hollow, it's going to be lighter weight. That's gonna mean less in shipping costs as something makes its way from China to the U.S. That is going to ultimately result in a lower price point because there's less plastic used, and they don't have to put the burden of those extra shipping charges on customers. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's hollow, but I mean, it sounds like it's durable and quite sturdy. And I think if you want like solid figures, you would need to look like at a resin figure or a PVC figure, like what Papo or Reborn do, which those are pretty heavy by comparison.
And I would think at this scale, you wouldn't even be able to like practically make something that was solid. Like the leg joints would wear out from all that weight. So I really think it was, not just a practical sense from cost, but a practical sense from kind of it being a toyified version of a Brachiosaurus. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah. And it looks awesome. As you noted, this is truly a classic Jurassic Park Brachiosaurus from the photos that I've seen that you've posted in your video, and it looks awesome. I'm truly envious of your Brachiosaurus. I want one like yesterday, and I can't wait to get that and get it outside and get some pictures of it. I'm really looking forward to being able to own one at some point.
Yeah, and hopefully that's just around the corner, as in like, hopefully the next few months. I assume that Mattel sent them out, and that means they're going to be available, for sure. It's not like they're gonna, never release it or something like that. Like, I definitely feel very optimistic about, this being in most people's hands, and at least here in the U.S., but I can talk for a little bit about some other availability. But in the U.S., I would imagine it would be, coming to stores in the next few months, or rather coming to Target. Whether it's going to be in stores or Target.com remains to be seen. But, I've heard through the grapevine that, Target's definitely prepared this time, and that that's no guarantee, but that they're definitely mindful of having enough of these on hand to sell them. So hopefully that's all true, and it kind of when the figure does come out, it kind of goes without a hitch, so that you and everyone else can grab one or two. I've heard a lot of people say they want two to like make a herd or something, which is pretty cool to hear when you think of a toy this big.
Yeah, I want multiples for sure. I mean, I have specific uses for multiples, so it's not just going to be hoarding, but but I mean, maybe this is why they're clearancing the Biden fight, and who knows what else they're going to clearance over the next couple months. But yeah, they're trying to make room. I didn't even think
obviously
about
that. That's a great observation. Like, that could definitely be true. I would say that it's also coming out, or it has come out in Brazil. Like now, that's the couple stores in Brazil have stocked it. I know it's coming to the UK via Argos, and I think they ship in a couple places in Europe too. So I think that's the only two countries we have confirmed release. But I also heard that some maybe South Pacific countries will be getting it as well. And I'm sure we'll just keep hearing more and more about people. Oh, I found it here. So it definitely got an international release in some markets. So it's not just a US only thing, which is great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing we want to touch on here is the 3 3/4 inch scale Legacy Collection John Hammond, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure. In our last episode, we went over the announcement for this figure and the pre-orders that were going up around that time. Well, Mattel very kindly sent a review sample over to me and Tim. You got one too, correct?
I don't have one, so I have a Brachiosaur though, so I'll take my Brachiosaur.
So they sent over the John Hammond figure, and first of all, thanks immensely to Mattel for sending that over, because it's a really cool figure, and being able to see it in hand and go over the packaging in my review video and touch on all the points as far as everything that's entailed with this release was really cool. I'm really excited about this figure. I think that a lot of people, once Comic-Con comes and they start shipping them out in August, or I don't know if they're going to be selling them at the show yet. We still don't really know. It sounds like they are, but I don't know what the process is going to be as to whether or not they're going to let you buy more if you've already pre-ordered it, or what kind of limits they're going to be placing on the figures. So it's interesting, but nonetheless, Tim, this figure is freaking awesome. I mean, I think what really does it for me is the packaging. Like, the packaging is just so classic Kenner Jurassic Park, and it's stunning. And just the way they implemented the opening doors, which, if you want to see the figure, unfortunately, you do have to break the perforations of the gates to see it. But just the whole implementation, even when you pull like the figure out from the inside, it's still like on its own card. But the inside has like eyes in the background, and it has like, you can see the back of the gate, and it's really detailed. They really went all out with this packaging presentation. And I mean, that's just half of it, of course. The other half is the figure. I mean, this is exactly what you would want. When you look at the other Legacy Collection figures like Alan and Ellie and Malcolm and Muldoon, this fits in perfectly. It's very similar to those figures in terms of execution. It's got really good likeness, I think. The outfit is very nice, very bright white. He's got his cane. He's got his incubator with the little raptor egg, one hatched and one not hatched yet. It's just a stunning release, and I'm really excited for more people to get these in hand, and as we talked about, hopefully a mass release eventually.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about that too. I definitely think there's been a huge need for this figure for a long time, and then when it came out, there was a very big reaction, and I think mostly positive, about finally getting a Hammond. And, seeing it now in a couple people's hands. I've seen photos from you, obviously. I've seen photos and a little bit of video from Jurassic Park Podcast. And both of you did a great job capturing it with kind of the other Legacy figures, which kind of just brings home the point that this is a collection. And maybe that's a good way for them to kind of find a way to release it later. But those photos really just kind of make it clear how much we needed Hammond. And the Raptor egg stand that comes with him is such a great feature to kind of link him with all the other figures, like as evidence in the photos you took with everyone kind of huddled around and Hammond in the center. It just looks great. It's going to be, when I do get one, it's going to be really hard to not open it. What am I saying? I'm going to open it for sure. As cool as the packaging is, and I'll definitely keep it, definitely want to get that figure out and get him next to everybody else. But I mean, it's very exciting, and I guess we'll find out next week at Comic-Con kind of, how many they actually are going to sell at the show. I mean, if they end up selling 10,000 of them, maybe there'll be so many out there that it won't be so hard to get, but probably not going to sell that many. So, but still kind of interesting to see how it all goes down during the actual convention. Yeah, totally. And, I'll be there on Saturday. So, we'll definitely get the lowdown. So, follow us online if you're not already, and stay tuned to collectjurassic.com, because, we'll have the scoop on, what's going on with Hammond, as well as anything else that they show us at the show. For sure. Definitely.
And as we get into our Around the Jurassic World segment, we want to touch on the latest news in the Jurassic World. So first thing we have here, Tim, is Jurassic World The Ride began soft openings late last week. So the first riders are able to experience the ride, or as they're referring to the soft opening, the technical rehearsals, to see what's new and how this ride has changed from its previous incarnation. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So this will be the first Jurassic World Universal Studios experience. We obviously have Jurassic Park rides kind of around the world at different Universal parks, but where it all began was Universal Studios Hollywood, and that's kind of the first Jurassic World refresh we're getting our hands on. And seeing there's been a stream of video coming out since they did these technical rehearsals, and I can't get enough of it. Well, before I go too far into descriptions of the ride, I definitely want to say there's some spoilers here once we talk about the ride. So if you're listening and you don't want anything spoiled, I would go ahead and kind of scrub through to the next part of the show if you don't want to hear anything. But if you're ready to hear some more about the ride, I'm going to kind of launch right into it. It looks so cool right in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, some of the middle of it was, it's almost the exact same ride, so that part wasn't. It was disappointing. I won't like mince words. It was definitely disappointing. I was kind of hoping when they put up the barriers and had all these different dinosaurs printed on them, I was like, oh, they're going to have Triceratops, they're going to have this, they're going to have that. And then when the ride actually came out, it's like, well, they kept the stegosaurs in the middle and a couple other kind of bits, more or less. But the beginning is amazing. The technology is amazing. I know you and I both sort of have, an affinity for theme parks, Disney and everything. So we can really appreciate what they've done here with screens. People always kind of groan about adding these sorts of screens to rides, but to me, this is the perfect application, right?
Yeah, fantastic stuff. I think from what I've seen in the videos, obviously I haven't been there yet, but I think they really integrated the screen aspect of the ride very nicely. I know that they've done this very well before with their studio tour tram ride. They actually have a King Kong portion where you ride through, and it's handled very well. It feels like you're actually like kind of in that universe of King Kong. Mm-hmm. So luckily this seems to be pretty similar, and it's not quite as immersive because that's kind of like screens all the way around the tram, but this is handled very well to where it looks like you're going through an aquarium, and on both sides you can see into the Mosasaurus tank, and it looks like really good CG, and it looks like that they did a really nice job with the Mosasaurus. The only thing I would like to see is maybe, I kind of feel like in typical Universal fashion, they sort of spoiled it within the TV commercials. I don't know if you've seen any of those commercials on TV, Tim?
Yeah, no, it's exactly what you see in the ride, the exact thing that happens, so...
Yeah. I was hoping that maybe that was just like a precursor to something cooler that was going to happen in the ride. But nope, that's like the whole thing right there with the Mosasaurus.
Yeah, so it swims up to the glass and kind of rams it, and then you get squirted with water, which is cool. But yeah, it's like we saw in the commercial. But I want to say that the screens for me work even better than the Kong ride because, in the Kong ride, you're kind of suspending disbelief and saying like, yes, I'm surrounded by screens, but they're so big that I'm really in this world. Whereas in this part of the Jurassic World ride, we're looking at screens, but we're looking at screens that are meant to look like the fronts of a aquarium viewing glass. And what they've done is they've synced up the ride vehicle as well as some sort of fancy 3D projection to kind of simulate that you're going by the panes of glass and you're seeing into the tank, and your perspective of how you're looking into the tank is changing as you go by. All very complicated stuff, but the kind of finished product just in these YouTube videos is incredible looking. I imagine in person it's even more incredible looking because I know these ride videos never quite do those sorts of things justice, but it's just neat to kind of see this, sweeping aquarium with, plants swaying in the water, fish swimming by, and then you have the massive Mosasaur swimming around and under you, and of course ramming the glass too. So very, very cool. That was probably my favorite part of the ride. But obviously the middle's kind of the same. I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, that was definitely a disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to touch on one more thing about the tank. I think when you exit that area of the ride, it kind of kills like the sight lines a little bit, because once you come out, it's obvious there was no tank there.
It's very abrupt. Like I feel like I was wondering. I've watched it many times now, and I'm like, is there kind of like a natural ridge in the tank there for when you exit it? But there really isn't. They should have made like a hard concrete wall in the tank, maybe with a big JP logo on it or something. So it's like obvious that this is the end of the tank. So that part of it is a little clunky.
Mm-hmm. And they should have added a barrier, just extend the concrete, even if you can't see in the tank, just extend the concrete a little bit just to kind of buffer a little bit, for when you come out. But to your point about the middle section of the ride, I agree. It seems like a bit of a letdown. I was hoping, as were you, that they were going to kind of go all out and do something completely different than what they did before. But unfortunately, it looks like they just kind of cleaned up what was already there. It's essentially the same animatronics that they've had before. And I think that's the Ultrasaurus. Is that the sauropod that's in there?
The Ultrasaurus is gone. It's just the two stegosaurs that are left over.
Okay, so the stegosaurs, you have the baby, you have the adult, and then you have the parasaur, right? Just the head that kind of comes out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's. And that's one thing. I went to Universal Japan back in 2017, and I was
Oh,
far
wow.
more.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was far more impressed with their Jurassic Park land, if you want to call it that. I felt like it was a lot more immersive than what we have in Hollywood. It just kind of like really separated, and that's one thing they do a lot better at that park than they do here. Even with the Wizarding World, the Harry Potter land, there's quite a bit of a buffer between like the main walkway and the land. You can't see it from the walkway. You have to walk through like 5 minutes of like a forest to get there.
Yeah.
And there's just like this eerie music playing, and it really like, heightens your senses as you walk into Wizarding World. And when you look at that here in Hollywood, you're on the main pathway and you just look to your right and you can see all the way into the land. So that kind of kills that. But their part of Jurassic Park the ride is pretty similar to what we have in Hollywood. There are some differences. This part of Jurassic Park the ride in Universal Studios in Japan is very similar. Like it has, the same sort of animatronics, the Ultrasaurs, is it Ultrasaur? Ultrasaurus?
There's Ultrasaur. I think there's Cetocaris. That was in at least a few of the rides.
Okay. Yeah, they have the Stegosaurus. They have the Parasaurs. I think they might have 2 of them there, if I recall correctly.
In Orlando, they have 2, so it wouldn't surprise me if they had 2 in Japan.
Okay, it's. I rode it once, and it's been a couple of years, so I don't remember 100%, but I remember it being pretty similar overall. But I felt like the end was a little bit more impressive for some reason. Like you just see like the whole T-Rex, like its whole body, the T-Rex's body.
Yeah, I think that I'd have to go watch the videos, but I've ridden Orlando's ride a few times. I want to say Japan's is very similar. Like it was that update of the ride. The T-Rex is way more visible in Orlando. It's almost like a different T-Rex actually than the one in Hollywood. But yeah, kind of going back to the Jurassic World the ride and kind of how the third part of it finishes up. It's got the same pacing where you kind of get knocked off course and you go through this containment area, but it's called Predator Cove, which I think is kind of a nice touch. It's kind of a new area of Jurassic World, but they have like this, the leftover raptor containment area, the iconic Jurassic Park pen. They have it like pre-painted blue with a raptor icon sign on it, and then right next to it, like literally right up against it, they have an Indominus Rex cage, and then right up against that, they have the Tyrannosaurus Rex Kingdom, all in this little Predator Cove thing your boat rides through. So that they did a nice job being like, here are the 3 carnivores you're about to encounter, but the paddocks are kind of all on top of each other, which is kind of funny, but just kind of getting nitpicky about it.
Yeah. Do you know if the one here in Hollywood had the cage that was kind of coming down, like the raptor cage?
So the one in Hollywood had a Jeep, or sorry, an Explorer that kind of teetered on a wall and then came crashing down, and that whole bit has been removed completely in the ride so far.
Yeah, it was the one in Japan then it was like the raptor cage from the first film, and it was like on a lift and it was like coming down. It really simple effect, but it was very convincing. It looked like you were going to get squashed.
And that's how it was in Orlando too. It was just kind of like a cheap scare, but an effective one. But yeah, that whole element is kind of gone from the Hollywood or the new Jurassic World ride. You kind of circle the bend and see all these open dinosaur cages. There's claw marks everywhere. There's blood. There's some very questionable looking torn up pteranodons. They look a little bit like Halloween decorations that somebody left out, but I think I'll pause here and say this is a technical rehearsal. Not that they're going to change some big parts of the ride, but I expect a ride like this that's this big of a deal to evolve a little bit over the next year as they kind of work out the kinks and figure out what works best. But yeah, those pteranodons are
awful,
a little bit unforgivable. Yeah, they look pretty bad. They look literally like a big giant toys that someone spray painted red. But yeah, once you get around that, you go up the classic lift into Tyrannosaur Kingdom, and this is another part of the ride that I think they really kind of reinvented, because if you remember, you come down a tiny little drop into like this steam room with pipes everywhere and sort of utility corridors, and very much like Jurassic Park bunker control room vibes. But in this case, in Jurassic World, they've kind of relit the whole room, so it's very dark, and certain scenes are lit up, but it's like a dark jungle, which I thought was very, a very big kind of undertaking to sort of redo this dark part of the ride. But again, from the video, it looks like it works pretty well. It reminds me of the dinosaur ride in Walt Disney World, Animal Kingdom, where, you know, you have a very dark showroom that's got all these kind of jungly vignettes. And as long as you light everything correctly, it kind of works.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really neat. Like that last part, it's cool how you see all the different dinosaurs. I think that one effect with the raptor sliding down at you was there already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see like the Dilophosaurs, you know, it's spitting water at you, and
they look like they work better than they've worked in years. Like their frills are like vibrating. They look like they've definitely gotten a serious tune-up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they've definitely cleaned them up and repainted them, and I feel like it's a little anticlimactic though at the end. You know, once you see like the Indominus and the T-Rex kind of just like roaring at each other.
Yeah.
But they don't really.
They kind of just talk to each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a few different videos on YouTube, and the ending timing wise has been different in almost all of them. You know, I've seen ones where you just kind of come up to the final drop and the Indominus roars and the T-Rex comes out and you do the drop. I've seen other one where you pause for a bit and you watch them kind of roar at each other for like kind of a while, which maybe that was just a technical thing. And then I've seen another one where again you kind of pause and they kind of go at it for a little bit before you drop. So again, maybe they're still tweaking the timing of that, of how much you'll see and how much you'll kind of experience. I do know that there might be some effects in the ride, like the ride vehicle moving or reacting, like when a dinosaur roars or bumps the glass, like that might not actually be turned on right now, but maybe, you know, turned on for the ride. I think there's just some things that we can't fully evaluate the ride until it's actually open. But, you know, all the new stuff seems great. And I think overall, personally, it's kind of what I was expecting. I really wasn't expecting a whole new tear down brand new ride when I knew they were going to reuse the track. So you know, for me, I'm definitely I'm definitely pleased with what they did.
Yeah, I was hoping they would go a little bit further than they did. I mean, I as you said, you know, there's no way they were going to redo the entire thing from scratch. I mean, it's using the same ride system, and you know, that much was going to stay the same. But I was hoping that the scenery, you know, they would go a little bit further with it, and you know, just kind of, you know, really bring in the animatronics. You know, maybe some apatosaurs or brachiosaurs, or you know, like you said, triceratops. You know, just kind of make it more Jurassic World. Maybe even have like a gyrosphere and you know, that's just kind of like gliding in the background, or you know, just more scenery from the Jurassic World films. But I mean, it's nice that they updated it. You know, I think it's definitely an improvement. I think that, you know, the fact that they went through and, you know, redid the entire land, it just kind of brought it up to speed a little bit more with the present somewhat, is a good sign.
The area around the ride looks, you know, they kind of refreshed that a little bit, and it's not much, but they at least kind of added the new blue experience where you experience the velociraptors. They really made that, you know, more in tune with sort of the aesthetic of Jurassic World. So everything they did on the outside of the ride is noteworthy to kind of tie everything together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm excited for when the ride fully opens. I really want to get out there and ride it. I know you are in California already, so you're closer than me, but I got a bachelor party headed out there this summer. I've already selfishly been like, what if we went a whole day at Universal Studios? But everyone kind of laughed at me. But hey, it could happen. So I definitely want to get out there soon and ride it. I definitely don't want to wait till it, you know, opens up in Orlando or something to experience this. I definitely want to go check it out in Hollywood whenever I can.
For sure. Maybe that's when you add an extra day to your trip and then you just go out there yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm already like thinking like, do I just leave early on Sunday and just head to the park? But I don't know. I heard the wait time for the ride is insane right now. I saw a picture the other day that was 240 minutes, which is 4 hours.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's too
rough.
long.
But
that's way too long.
That's too long for me too. Even for Jurassic, that's a little bit too long for me. But it is a new ride, so I understand the popularity, and it's a great sign. I mean, we wouldn't want it to open and have no one care. So
of course,
awesome that Universal's doing that. So hopefully it'll roll out to all these other parks.
Yeah, hopefully it will. And I think it's also admirable that they, you know, added new queue videos too and new scenery to look at as you're waiting in line.
Right. So I think we talked in a couple episodes ago about Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard and BD Wong all kind of reprising their roles from the film for these ride videos. And I think there's actually videos within the ride too where at least Chris Pratt shows up. But I'm sure Dr. Wu probably shows up as well as Claire Deering. So that's actually a really cool touch too, that now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, love it. And it's just really cool that they give the ride a little bit more authenticity by having the actual characters from the film, the main characters in the ride. I think that's always a really nice thing to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that you'd ever been to Japan. We'll definitely have to talk about all the Jurassic Park rides maybe in another episode, because I've only been to Islands of Adventure, but definitely one of the defining moments of my Jurassic fandom. So we should definitely get into that more, but hopefully we can all make our way out there to the Hollywood Park at some point and ride this ride.
Yeah, or better yet, hopefully they'll have another Jurassic celebration and we will have a reason to go out there again.
Yeah, 27th anniversary, does that count?
The 27 is a weird number, but I mean, just they don't even need to call it that. It's just like Star Wars does Star Wars Celebration. Doesn't matter what anniversary it is.
That's right. Exactly.
So, moving on, we want to talk about San Diego Comic-Con. We already mentioned that it's happening next week, and by the time you listen to this, it'll be happening this week. But yeah, we're really excited for it because, San Diego Comic-Con, I've been going for years now, and it's always the kind of thing where, they do have all these awesome panels that are going on. You got to wait in line for hours to get into some of them. I think that's all great, but I'm always focused on, the merchandise. I always go to the great exhibit halls and, see what is, coming, see what's on sale, what kind of exclusives am I looking for, and what's the latest in Jurassic toys from Mattel. So I anticipate that we are going to be seeing some new stuff. Companies always use Comic-Con as a platform to showcase new product, to interact with fans, to have really neat displays sometimes. And sometimes you get to meet some of the people that you follow on social media that are involved with these toys. So I'm really excited to get in there and see what's going on this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. It always seems like we always get a few surprises from this show too. Obviously, we talked about the Amber collection earlier in the episode. That might have been a little spoiled from San Diego Comic-Con, but I'm still guessing we'll hear some awesome new stuff come out of there too. And maybe not just toy stuff. Maybe there'll be some stuff about Camp Cretaceous, the upcoming Netflix show. Maybe we'll even get some Jurassic World 3 info. You never know. But I would imagine that we'll probably hear at least something more than just about the 6-inch figures Amber collection coming from Mattel. I'm sure we'll hear something else. I think, what I really liked what they did last year with their panel was give a species count, because that's just very vague, but also something that's very easy to get excited about for collectors. Yeah. So I would be super happy if they kind of did something like that again, just a overall species count, just to get people excited, or give off a few silhouettes of some figures. Last year they did that for the Brachiosaurus and the Amagrosaurus. So if there's anything exciting coming, kind of giving a hint at it like that without showing the figure, that'd be really cool. Is Mattel having a panel that we know of?
That I don't know. I did send an email to Mattel asking for clarification on whether or not they would be having a panel, and I didn't hear back, unfortunately. But hopefully, they're still announcing panels that are going to be going on at the show, so hopefully we hear something pretty soon about that.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd like them to do some kind of Jurassic special thing. I do know that a few people on Instagram were contacted by Mattel to use some of their toy photography for something at San Diego Comic-Con. So whether that's a big wall of photos like I know Star Wars has done before, or some sort of video, or I don't know. I mean, the fact that they asked for it means that they're doing something. So that'll be really cool to see. So we know there's going to be something there. And obviously one of the cooler things to me about kind of being on the internet, being on social media, and collecting is seeing what everyone does with toy photography. And so the fact that Mattel's kind of tapping into that is super cool, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's great when you see a company doing outreach and trying to involve the fans. I mean, these are the people that are buying the toys and really, supporting the line and helping it to keep going. So it's great that they're interacting. And they reach out to me as well for the same reason, for toy photos.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, again, you're going to San Diego Comic-Con, which is great. I'm staying here, but I'm really anxious to see what your experience is on Saturday. And if I was there, I'd be right there with you. I'm not waiting in lines to listen to someone. I would be cruising for toys and merchandise pretty much the whole time I was there. So hopefully you find some good stuff, and hopefully you're able to get some pictures and photos that you can share to everybody listening on Collect Jurassic.
Oh, yeah, always. We always do photos. We always do videos. We always have conversations with the people that produce the toys that we love. So, yeah, there'll definitely be coverage. I'll be live tweeting as frequently as I can. It does get kind of difficult to be managing, all your gadgets as you're trying to traverse a very crowded exhibit hall. But, and I do have some time set aside for meetings and networking and things like that. So,
for sure.
But yeah, so no, we'll definitely be there, and follow along on Twitter, and also stay tuned to Collect Jurassic, and you'll see all the new stuff that is featured and announced at San Diego Comic-Con.
Excellent. Sounds great.
So I also want to touch a little bit on, as we go into Comic-Con, some things that we would like to see, like, us, the fans, the customers, the collectors, and things that we think perhaps could be improved upon a little bit. I know we don't really have lists. We haven't really talked about, this part of the show in any detail. So I just want to kind of spout off a few ideas. So Tim, do you want to mention anything, or should I begin?
Yeah, I think I have a couple kind of broad notes from Mattel. Not that I'm a professional toy manufacturer, but I think, sitting from where we're sitting with being big fans, big collectors, and also kind of hearing a lot of different people and their opinions on the line, I think that, Mattel should really kind of focus up and maybe, I hate to say it, but kind of, maybe, sort of pull the reins in a little bit on the collection and maybe not do so many repaints, and sort of, kind of focus on smaller assortments, new figures when you can. Obviously repaints are necessary, but I think what we're seeing is there's so many figures coming out that in order to support those, we need so many repaints, which I really think kind of hastens people getting kind of, tired of collecting the same figure over and over again. So one thing I would like to see, as an improvement for future kind of release plans is something a little bit more mindful of how many repaints they're pushing out there.
Yeah. I know repaints are necessary, and they help to, capitalize on an existing tooling for a figure and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think smart repaints is what I'd like to see them do. And when I say smart repaints, I'm thinking of things like, in battle damage. I know those are retools technically, but they're repainting the Herrerasaurus, which they had already done. Why not, do something a little bit different, like that Triceratops? Maybe we haven't seen that in a while, the green one, or
we got it one time, so why not just do another one? I totally understand.
Or Proto Ceratosaurus. That's a new battle damage figure. That's a smart offering for that line. But we also have species like Min-Me and young T-Rex and Dracorex.
There's a
Coeluris,
bunch. Sorry, there I go again.
But it'd be awesome to see some of those in battle damage if it keeps going, obviously. But I think it's just about smart repaints. Make the right decisions and do color schemes that. I mean, I know that the research apparently says that kids like the colorful dinos, and I like them too. I don't want all my dinos to be like brightly colored, though. I think also smart repaints is also doing things that are plausible.
Yeah, I think there's a balance there that they have to, release some figures in every kind of assortment, I guess, every wave that really pop off the shelf. But hopefully there's still room for some more natural looking paint schemes. But again, I think smart repaints is a great point. If we're going to do repaints, in a big way in the next kind of stage of the toy line, let's hit up the Albertosaurus. Let's hit up some figures that, haven't really gotten a lot of repaint love and see what we can do with them instead of kind of another Triceratops or Baryonyx. And I'm guessing there's decisions that go on for all those kinds of I'm guessing there's some thought that goes into all these decisions about, what they should repaint, but I'd really like to see them kind of revisit some of these one and done molds and get their use out of them and kind of give us a reason to collect them. So that's definitely a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely thought processes and reasons that we're not privy to, that obviously they base these decisions on. So, we can only work with what we see and what we observe and what we know.
Yeah.
But another thing I'd like to see them work on is QC. I know that for the most part, most of the products have good quality control, but we're still seeing a lot of issues with misprinted eyes and, just paint issues where, things are still going wrong. I think that might even be like the biggest thing I would say is, it's cool to be able to order some of these figures online. Sometimes you have to do that because they're hard to find in person, or even like some of them that aren't coming to the US. What choice do you have but to order from overseas if you want to get them? But you still deal with these paint issues, and it's really frustrating. Especially when you have like these attack packs. You can see the right side of the dinosaur, but you can't really see the left. So you don't know if there's an issue with the eye. And you only find out about it once you take it out of the package. So I'd really like to see some improvements with just the overall painting quality control.
Yeah, the eye thing is huge. I mean, you might run across the occasional figure that has a weird stripe or something that didn't quite get painted the way it did on another figure. But I would say the eye misprinting, it's sort of like almost like a printer offset issue where you just don't have the printer lined up and the eye is getting painted on in its entirety, just slightly off or sometimes majorly off from the actual target of where we want the eye painted, which just seems sort of like a very binary mistake. It's like it could either be right or very wrong. And it seems like there's a way to improve that. I always hate to kind of compare apples to oranges and bring up the old Kenner figures because that was a totally different time. But I have to because every Kenner figure I've ever picked up had perfectly painted eyes. I never picked up one where I was like, whoa, what happened to this guy's eyes? Like everything is perfect. So I understand there's some automation, some mechanization to toy manufacturing that maybe is around now that wasn't around then. But the bare minimum, I feel like we should be getting our eyes painted on where they go.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not something that it's just us obsessive collectors like worrying about. I mean, not that I'm like, do it for the kids, Mattel, but really, I mean, you don't want to be selling toys to kids that, they open it up and they're like, oh, cool, T-Rex, awesome. And then they like look at it later and see that one of the eyes is literally upside down or falling off, and then they throw it in their toy box and never play with it again, So, that's not cool. So I really think, if it continues to be an issue, I really think a lot of fans will continue to make an issue about it. That's something I'd like to see us all mobilize for versus like getting angry about exclusive is let's get angry about this eye misprinting because it's kind of becoming a big hassle for all of us who are having to kind of, like you said, order figures online.
Yeah, and it really goes, I think, beyond being like a minor issue. I mean, it's like you say, hit or miss. Like you just don't know. You order online, it's like, all right, flip a coin. Am I going to get perfect paint, or am I going to get eyes that are like lopsided? And none of us want to see that. I mean, obviously, these are mass-produced toys. They have certain shortcuts that they take in producing them, and they have to produce them pretty inexpensively in order to sell them inexpensively to us. So I mean, I get that, but at the same time, I don't think there's really any excuse for the vast amount of misprintings we're seeing with the eyes.
For sure. Yeah, and I think bringing up the price point is definitely valid, that these toys are super affordable, so there's some give there, but I'd like to find a balance. Like, I'll pay it under 50 cents if it means I can have an iris in the middle of my eye all the time. So it'll be really disheartening if the Amber collection figures come out and have the same issue. I really expect a higher level of quality on those figures. So that would kind of be the deciding factor for me is or kind of like a point where I'd be like, okay, like this isn't just a cost thing. This is a process thing. Like those figures should definitely have that, like, that attention to detail, kind of coming back to where you started, of the quality control. Like, look at these figures and say, this is not quality. We need to, hold these back and not release them, or come up with a different way to finish them and finish this detail on them that isn't so prone to error.
Yeah. So let's hope that we see that get better. And, I'll definitely address it with them if I get the opportunity to do so. So do you have any other points you'd like to raise, things we'd like to see?
Of course, I think, people are always asking for more vehicles, more play sets, to a lesser extent, but still asking more human characters, especially in the Legacy Collection line. And obviously, the Legacy Collection is sort of in a weird place right now, with how much Target is willing to carry with it. But I think we should all still voice our desires for the line, even in this year where we're not probably going to see a bunch of vehicles and playsets come out. Like, keep asking for them. And, maybe when Jurassic World 3 comes around, there'll be more vehicles than we can shake a stick at. So, that's just something I'm always wanting to put in their ears. Like, we really want a vehicle. We really want a Ford Explorer, like real bad. You keep making them with Matchbox size. So it's not like, you're still entertaining them in some way, but man, we would really like that in the 3 3/4 scale. It would be a dream come true. And, talk about buying multiples of something. I don't even know how many of those I would buy.
Oh, yeah.
I'd probably buy one for everyone in my family. I think that's probably a pretty normal thing to do. I just get it for everyone for Christmas. But it's such a cool thing that everyone wants, and obviously vehicles in general are just a great kind of addition to all these dinosaurs we have. So that would be kind of my other big thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was actually going to raise that myself. Yeah, I mean, I'm eyeing my shelf, and I have pretty much every dinosaur I could possibly want right now, other than the Brachiosaurus. I don't have that yet, but I mean, I have plenty of T-Rexes. I got my Spino. I've got Indominus Rex. I don't have enough human figures. I don't have enough vehicles. Jurassic Park has always been about the balance between, humans living in a world in which dinosaurs have been brought back. So where are the humans? We definitely want more of them. We know the demand is there. I know there have been some whispers about, stores' willingness to bring on human action figures and, more vehicles. If you look back to 2018, it didn't take long for a lot of these vehicles to get clearanced out, especially at Target. A lot of them went to clearance within a couple months after the movie came out. And you know how it went with the Legacy human figures. Most of those have been clearanced out already at most Target stores, and the Jeeps are gone. And so, I mean, I know that retail is a big factor in terms of the decision making, but at the same time, as fans and as collectors, I got plenty of dinosaurs. I need more humans. I need my Lex. I need my Tim. I need more. I need some characters based on the first Jurassic World. I mean, I definitely would love to see those. So,
and generic park workers, I think, would be great to get if it's a kind of wrapped up in getting likenesses and things like that. Like, give us some more park workers. Give us an ACU trooper. I'm sure that would be one that would be a very, very hot figure if they came out with an ACU trooper.
Yeah, they already have the heads from the other mercenaries they made. Just put those on the generic ACU troopers. We'll buy them all. I know that we will. Yeah. And even if they wanted to kit bash those mercenaries, place one head on another body. I mean, that's a new figure already. I mean, very easy stuff that they could do if for one, if they wanted to, and two, if the stores were willing to carry product like that. And obviously, we don't know the full story. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're clamoring for vehicles. We need that Jeep. I know that I really want some sort of a gate with a fence. You know, like Kenner did that nearly flawlessly back in the day. And I'm sure that if Mattel did it, they could do it even better now. So give it to us. I know that we're all interested in buying these non-dinosaur products.
Yeah. And find a way to do it, obviously that makes sense business-wise. Like, maybe we are always having dinosaurs coming along with the vehicle, and same thing with play sets and human figures. Like, maybe the alone human figures and alone vehicles aren't, super viable right now without a movie out, but find a way to kind of still get them to market in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way to go about it. Star Wars did that for a long time. They were called battle packs, and I don't know if are you familiar with that concept from about a decade? Okay, so they would come with, there were boxes that they were very varied in terms of what the offerings were, but sometimes they were just like a pack of 5 figures. Sometimes they were a pack of like 2 figures in a small vehicle. Sometimes it was like a beast with like a creature with a figure or two. I think that was a great platform, and I'd love to see Jurassic do something like that, where, they did offer like a small vehicle with a character and a dinosaur. I mean, I think that's a win right there. You're getting a little bit of everything. Yeah,
you kind of bring up an interesting point with Star Wars, where, what Hasbro was probably doing was, there's all these completionists out here that want the Rancor handler, and we're gonna make them buy a Rancor to get it. Like they really made sure that they were tapping into that completionist of I need every human figure, so I'm gonna buy another A-Wing, I'm gonna buy another this, I'm gonna buy another that, so that I can get all these human figures. Whereas with us, it's kind of the opposite. Like everyone wants all the dinosaurs, at least, the community at large. So it's like, okay, release that Chronosaurus. I'm making up a figure. That's not a figure coming out, but release that Chronosaur with the submarine, and then everyone's going to buy that, kind of make some more, desirable figures, desirable dinosaur figures paired with something else,
Yeah.
I think that would be something kind of the opposite of what Star Wars did, but something that would be kind of motivating for a lot of people to buy humans and vehicles where they might not have otherwise done it, because it comes with this excellent dinosaur.
Absolutely. Another thing I'd like to see them do is complete the line with dinosaurs that we've saw in the films. And I might be wrong, Tim, but as far as I can tell, the only dinosaur they haven't yet made or announced is Corythosaurus.
Well, no, there's the
Apatosaurus.
There's one more large sauropod from Lost World, and I'm going to let you say it because you can probably say it better than me.
Yeah, Mimigosaurus.
Right. So I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, you could probably say there's not a true Lost World Pteranodon that's out, but yeah, Corythosaur and Apatosaur, and what was that one again?
Mimigosaurus.
Yeah, so those ones are really like all that's missing, which a couple of those are pretty tall orders, but Corythosaur seems like something they should be able to do.
That's easy. Just take the parasaur off his body and put a new head on it. Boom.
Yeah, no, everyone would buy that. So that's definitely one that we need to see. So yeah, that's for all the kind of species count completionists. That'd be huge.
I don't know that they'll ever get around to Mimigosaurus, but hopefully
Yeah.
Apatosaurus, if we're really good and we promise to buy everything new that comes out, maybe please Mattel.
Yeah. For next April Fools, I'll do the Mimigosaurus as my April Fool's joke. But,
You guys have been warned.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to the podcast, you won't be fooled like everyone else. So, if we could take a second and talk about outside of Mattel, at the Comic-Con, I would like to see Chronic Collectibles has been doing increasingly awesome Jurassic Park collectibles, and I know they've been hitting. Again, Jurassic Park specifically a lot more lately with some of their these are high quality collectibles, high quality statues. So I'm hoping we get to see a couple new things from them as well, and maybe something more at an affordable price point. I know a lot of these high-end collectible companies cater to the $600 to $1,000 statues, but they have also dabbled in making some smaller affordable things, which I think Chronic has a couple smaller things on the way that are a little bit more reasonable for the entry-level collector. So I'd love to see some more new stuff from them at Comic-Con.
Yeah, absolutely. Chronicle's always fun to chat with. I know that neither of us have been really huge on buying their products. I think that, they're obviously very expensive. They're targeting a different market than people that generally collect mass-produced plastic toys, but I think a lot of the stuff they do is pretty impressive. I have had concerns and issues with some of the stuff they've done, matching the price point they're asking for. But in general, when you visit with them in person, they're obviously, very passionate fans. And we actually did an interview with them a couple years back at Comic-Con. And there's a video of that on Victoria's Cantina YouTube channel. But they're always a blast to chat with. They have a pretty good insight. Last time I was there, they actually had Glenn McIntosh, who worked on Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, and he designed the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor, and he made this really nice drawing for me of the Indominus.
That's so cool.
It's super cool, and he signed it, and I have a photo with him, and yeah, that was awesome. But I don't know if he's going to be there this year, but it'll be nice chatting with them and seeing if they have anything new to show, if they haven't announced yet. I know a couple years back at Comic-Con, they actually had a couple of 12-inch figures of Dr. Grant and Owen Grady on display, and we haven't really heard about them since then. I don't know what happened with those, if they're still doing them or not, but like I said, Comic-Con's always a great opportunity to, come face to face and chat with the people that are producing these items and seeing what they have on tap. So you might see something.
Definitely. No, that's really cool that you can actually talk to, like you said earlier, the actual people behind the toys and the collectibles. So that's a huge part of it that we're looking forward to hearing more about.
Absolutely. So Tim, I wanted to ask you real quick, what do you think about prehistoric like type creatures like mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and things along those lines?
I would definitely like to see it pulsed in a small way. Minor rant, Ludia, the makers of the Jurassic World games, they've made Jurassic Park Builder, Jurassic World, they've made Jurassic World Alive, all these cool mobile Jurassic games. But what they always lose me is where they go full prehistoric animal. Like that's always like the third kind of stage of them. When they make these games, they release all these dinosaurs, they release all more dinosaurs, then they release some aquatic reptiles, and you're like, yeah, I'm into it. And then all of a sudden they just go like full giant sloth on you, and that always kind of loses me. So I'm okay with getting a couple of those figures mixed in. A mammoth would be amazing. And it's a little weird, kind of with the whole Jurassic vibe, but I would still love to have it. And a Smilodon. But yeah, I don't want like giant sloths and things like that. Like, I don't need those figures. I don't need a bunch of them. I only need a few.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, I don't really. I mean, if Mattel wanted to take this approach, I don't want to see like a huge focus on it. But I mean, Kenner back in the day, they did the Lycanops, and that's now we look at that, and it's still a little bit weird because it obviously wasn't in the films. As a kid, I was like, "What's this?" But my brother had it, and it was a fun toy. But yeah, I mean, I think things like this have the potential for world building and kind of extending what we know about the Jurassic universe, and that's done very well through toys many a time across different toy lines, things that are maybe just off screen or things that they don't have time to talk about. So there's also Primal Clash, the toy line that's sold at Walmart, where they do have some dinosaurs, and they also have mixed in like saber-toothed cat, and they have a mastodon. And yeah, I mean, if they sprinkled anything, here and there, so like the saber-toothed cat or a woolly mammoth, something like that, I'd buy that. I think it'd be pretty cool to see, just to kind of mix things up and keep the fans on their toes a little bit.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if they could like viably do that, because we talk about how we have all these dinosaurs this year that have bright paint on them and really pop off the shelf, and we're seeing way more dinosaurs than we've ever seen. There's not any humans or vehicles. It's all about dinosaurs. So I'd be interested to see if they would greenlight something like even a saber-toothed tiger or a woolly mammoth without really having to take some artistic license with how it looks to get it to really be a fun toy.
Yeah, definitely. So just an idea, just a thought.
Yeah, and I think that like it's not uncharted territory. There's the Dimetrodon, which is a reptile. And we also have some aquatic reptiles. And I know that at one point there was a hopefully I'm saying this right, a Postosuchus figure planned for the Attack Pack line. Not a Postosuchus. There was a Postosuchus mini dino from Mattel that came out last year. And pretty much every mini dino that came out had a bigger figure to match with it, except for Apatosaurus. But there was a Postosuchus minifigure that I would assume is tied to some canceled figure. And we also know for Attack Pack, there was a Mosh Chops figure. Sometimes when you go into Walmart and you look at the Attack Pack peg, like the little metal peg with the sticker on it, a lot of times you'll see Attack Pack Mosh Chops. And I hope I'm saying that species right, but another kind of prehistoric reptile that was obviously at some point in the system enough that they generated the Attack Pack barcode from it. So there's been a couple. It looks like they've dabbled in it, and maybe never could quite pull the trigger for a couple of them. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea, and I'd like to see them kind of rise up to the challenge.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And for a moment, I just got to be that person, the person that comments on your YouTube and corrects you about incorrect dinosaur information.
Yay, that's what I'm good for.
The Dimetrodon is a synapsid. It's more closely related to mammals, actually, than reptiles. So and that I'll end with that right there.
Yeah, no, I think again, I'm here to annoy all you folks out there who are cringing at all of my like scientific inaccuracies and mispronunciations. So luckily Victoria's here to save the day. Let's go ahead and take a look at our collector survival guide that we've been kind of, offering some of our own tips on collecting throughout the show. And this week we want to talk about something that I think maybe we might have mentioned in passing before, but it's a website called BrickSeek. And as far as I know, that name, if you're wondering what's BrickSeek, it's kind of like bricks as in Legos. And what this website kind of originated as was a way for Lego fans to track down Lego sets in different stores using those stores' inventory systems kind of all connected to one website. So what we as Jurassic collectors use BrickSeek for is, you guessed it, finding the newest Jurassic releases, most recently from Mattel. So if you want to go to brickseek.com, it's pretty straightforward website, but they have inventory checkers for Target, Walmart, as well as a few other stores, maybe some local stores, but for the sake of this bit, I think we'll just stick to Target and Walmart. But you get in there and you go to, let's just say you go to Target, and as long as you know I think in that case you need to know the UPC or barcode, or you can have the Target item number. So every store kind of has their own kind of proprietary item number for things. I think Walmart does SKUs and Target does DPCI numbers, but as long as you have that number, and again, if you're kind of pretty involved in the Jurassic collecting community, those numbers get passed around. You can use brickseek.com to determine stock levels in your area, with an asterisk next to that, because it's not always super accurate. You've used it a few times. Why don't you tell me what your kind of experience is with it?
Yeah, I think when you're collecting any toy line, you have to be persistent, and BrickSeek is a very good tool that you can utilize in order to locate inventory. And as you noted, it's not always 100% accurate. It can be a very frustrating tool sometimes, but I think generally speaking, the pros outweigh the cons, and it is very useful for seeing what your local Walmart might have or your local Target might have in stock. Sometimes you go to the store and it might say that your store has zero stock of an item, but then you see a few on the shelf, and the same thing, it might say that they have like 10 of them, but you don't see anything. Maybe they're still in the back, so you ask an employee, and then they're like, we don't have them. So I've had it happen too, where they pull out their scanner and they look it up, and their scanner doesn't show anything, but BrickSeek still says that they have something. So I'm not quite sure if there's just a delay, or if maybe BrickSeek shows things that are inbound that they don't receive yet. I think there's a few possibilities, but by and large, it's been a pretty good resource for looking for things. And you can't find everything on BrickSeek. Some things are just not on there. For example, NECA has the exclusive Ninja Turtles at Target. For whatever reason, they don't have numbers that show up on BrickSeek. So
interesting.
But by and large, things work. And so, if you're using it to look for toys, and obviously that's what me and you are doing, then it's a very valuable tool to have in your collecting resources.
It's funny you say that, look for toys. I was looking for shelves they don't make anymore at Walmart for my collection room, and it said the couple Walmarts around me had them on clearance, but I went to 3 different Walmarts that said they had them in stock, and they did not. So there's a lesson in accuracy right there. But for toys, it's a little bit of a different story. But I think one thing too to point out about BrickSeek is people are probably thinking like, why don't I just go into Target.com and use their inventory checker, or Walmart and use their inventory checker? Because all those stores have some basic level of pick it up in store today that you can kind of use to figure out if a store has something. But what BrickSeek does is it has access to things that aren't added on the website. So a great example is a lot of the Jurassic World Legacy Collection figures, before they were on the website or before they were, anywhere on the internet, we were able to, I can't remember how, get the item numbers for them and look them up on BrickSeek and figure out, hey, my Target down the street has new Extreme Chomp and Rex, and go down there and get a helpful employee, and they get it out of the bag for you. So, I mean, it's definitely a great tool when it all comes together.
Yeah. And that's a really good example of when you can use it. When you have brand new product that hasn't made it out to the shelves yet. Sometimes we have street dates that we have to contend with. And if you're lucky, though, and you have the DPCI number and you go to a Target employee that's willing to help, Sometimes they'll be willing to grab you that product despite the fact that it's sometimes street dated or just has a different reset date. And yeah, I did that quite a bit early on with the Legacy collection at Target. Perfect example. And I do it with Star Wars. I do it with Marvel Legends. I mean, you can definitely use it for anything you're collecting as long as the numbers, are accurate and show up on Brixie. Because again, sometimes things just aren't in there, but by and large, things are there. And if you're collecting anything, it's a really valuable resource.
Yeah, and I think that, I can personally vouch that I've used it for a ton of my collection. So it's definitely something that's not just a casual tool for us. I think I use it quite a bit when there's new product coming out. So even though it does, have its fair share of kind of incorrect information, it's definitely helped more than it's hindered. And again, it kind of all comes down sometimes to the human element, which is, are you going to get an employee that's going to tell you, we can't put those toys out for 2 weeks? Or are you going to get an employee that's like, sure, I'll go get them all back from the back from you. So it's totally just like random how that all part of it works. But to start, brickseek.com is a excellent resource for, hunting down inventory levels for a lot of different toys.
Yeah, and it's also a time saver and it saves you gas because, Tim, I don't know about you, but sometimes I like to do these morning or afternoon toy runs. Every now and then we're all hit maybe like 5 Walmarts and 5 Targets and just see what everybody has. And but if I'm looking for something specific and I don't want to run to that many stores and I don't want to be, disappointed by not finding things, I can just go to Brickseek and I can, input the SKU or the DPCI number and see, what Target am I most likely to find this item at? Well, if one Target says that they have 10 and another Target says they have 2, well, I'm going to go to the one that has 10 because more than likely they're going to have it on the shelves and I'm going to go home a happy collector. So definitely a good way to save a little bit of time and a good way to save on gas because, that's not cheap either.
Yeah, that's a great way to use it too. If you are lucky enough to have multiple stores in your area, you can always compare stock levels and sort of make an educated guess on where you're headed to next.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Tim, and we hope you'll check us out online. Obviously, you can find Collect Jurassic at collectjurassic.com. Also on social media, which is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all at /Collect Jurassic. You can also get in touch with us directly with our email at collectjurassic@gmail.com.
And you can find me online by visiting the Victoria's Cantina YouTube channel. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Victoria's Cantina and on Twitter at Vic's Cantina. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave us a review and give us a rating. You'll help other Jurassic fans and collectors be able to discover the show for themselves.
So thank you for visiting. We hope you've enjoyed your visit to the park.
Please make your way towards the main gate. We hope you'll book a return visit for another adventure into Collect Jurassic World.